welcome back to another true crime video. I am Tiara Dominguez, and on this channel I talk about true crime cases. More specifically, cases from my hometown, Utah. According to the Utah Bureau of Criminal Identification, there are more than 400 cold cases across the state, and we're going to talk about them. Hopefully by doing so, we can keep these stories alive and maybe along the way, bring the victims and their loved ones justice. First of all, let me apologize for being MIA the last couple of weeks. I'm sure you all were just devastated about it. The holiday season can be pretty crazy, and these cases do take me quite a while to research because I want to be as thorough as possible, especially with today's case, because even though I feel like I say this in every video, there was not a lot of information on this case, and I wanted to make sure that I did it justice. And that is the case of Cora Frandsen. But before I get started, I want to give my usual disclaimer that I mean absolutely no harm or disrespect to anybody involved. This is simply information that I have researched for the sole purpose of spreading awareness and hopefully getting justice. I always encourage you to do your own research as well. And researching this case was a little different because it happened so long ago, and really the only way that I was able to read up on this case was by reading the old newspaper articles from when it happened. And surprisingly, Google doesn't have old newspaper articles from the 70s. So I actually had to purchase a subscription to one of these news websites in order to access those. So you're welcome. I'm just kidding. I probably would have done it anyways because, as I said, these cases drive me crazy, and if there is any information that I am able to access, I will do it. Today we are talking about Corazon, Cabug, Parciso, Frandsen. I really hope I didn't butcher that, but I probably did. Cora was born December 23rd, 1951 in the Philippine Islands to Jose and Sally Cabug Parciso. She grew up with 2 brothers and 2 sisters and graduated with a degree in journalism from the University of Manila. While she was living in the Philippines, she met a man by the name of Gary Lee Frandsen, who was serving an LDS mission there. The two fell in love, and Cora moved to America in 1972, and they got married October 31st of that year. After getting married, Gary worked at Litton Industries, and Cora was adapting to married life in America and was learning things such as how to crochet, sew, and play tennis. Sadly, just 8 months later, Gary died from pancreatic cancer. My heart just broke when I read this. These two were so young and just getting their lives started together as newlyweds, and I could only imagine how hard that must have been for Cora. Not only is she now a widow at such a young age, she's also alone with no family in a country that's probably very unfamiliar to her. I shouldn't say that she was all alone though, because after Gary's death, Cora moved in with his parents, Hiram Frandsen and Ada Ray Craw, in Dragerton, Utah. She remained part of the Mormon Church and went on to serve a mission herself in Arizona, I believe in 1975 through 1977, where she actually broke a record for lady missionaries. People that knew Cora said that she was known for her soft beauty and flawless grooming, as well as her gourmet cooking and meticulous housekeeping. Unfortunately, there aren't very many pictures of Cora, but from the very few that I was able to find, I could definitely see that. She always looked very well put together and strikes me as the type of woman that was very fashion coordinated and knew how to accessorize. She was also very petite. Like myself, she was only 5'1" and around 96 pounds. At the time of her death, she was employed as a service specialist at Surety Life Insurance Company and also worked part-time at a store called Castleton's in Fashion Place Mall, which is now a Macy's. Fun fact. She was working 2 jobs so she could save up enough money to have her family move to America, which had been the plan ever since she and Gary got married. So the evening of February 4th, 1978 was a Saturday, and 26-year-old Cora returned to her apartment that was located at 5272 South Cobble Creek Road. She had just gotten finished having dinner with her in-laws and going grocery shopping. Investigators believe that as Cora was exiting her two-door white Mercury Cougar, she was attacked. She was found the following morning unconscious but still alive in some bushes adjacent to the Mormon church parking lot that was located at 5605 South Vine Street, which is about 4 blocks away from her house. She was rushed to the hospital but passed away at around 9:30 that morning, her cause of death being blunt force trauma as well as exposure to the elements. The fact that she was left outside at night in February with serious injuries more than likely helped accelerate the seriousness of those injuries, and it was also believed that Cora was sexually assaulted. Everyone that knew Cora was absolutely shocked that something like this could have happened to her. She was just a beautiful person inside and out, and it didn't make any sense. Police didn't really have any leads either, but they did have the murder weapon. They found a 22-inch long steel water pipe covered with blood and hair near the Van Winkle Expressway. It was said that the pipe was taken in to test for prints, but apparently nothing ever came of that. Now, the night before Cora was attacked, another woman who lived in the exact same apartment complex was also murdered. This woman's name was Patricia Luann Cobb, and she was found in her apartment by her bed. She was naked from the waist down and had been stabbed in the neck and abdomen, and she was also 5 months pregnant at the time. Now, a man has been charged for Patricia's murder, and this man's name is Ronald Dean Lancaster. And not much is known about Ronald except for he was described as being a 33-year-old transient at the time. Reports state that he and Patricia were seen leaving the Sun Tavern late Friday. And for those of you who don't know, the Sun Tavern was Utah's first gay bar and has since closed down, but it was located at South Temple in 400 West. Investigators weren't sure if Patricia was killed late Friday night or early Saturday morning, and Ronald was taken into custody around midnight on Saturday. He was sentenced to life in prison for killing Patricia, but I was never able to find a definitive motive, although I believe that it was sexually motivated. There is a source that says Ronald was initially charged with first-degree murder committed during the commission of a rape, which is a capital felony in Utah, but later, as part of a plea bargain, he pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, which is still a first-degree felony, and was sentenced to life. He then appealed his plea because he said that Utah's first and second-degree felony murder statutes were too vague, and because of that, he was confused and unable to plead to a lesser charge. He also argued that the state didn't prove intent in his trial, which is an element of second-degree murder in Utah. So basically, according to Dear Ronald, he didn't intend on killing Patricia. He only intended on raping her, and, well, that didn't go according to plan, so he had to kill her. Criminal Logic 101. Thankfully, any and all of his appeals have been denied. He is still alive and serving his sentence in the Utah State Prison, and he's around 76 years old at this point. Police did investigate the possibility that Ronald was involved in Cora's murder, but he was never charged. Now I know what you're thinking. Obviously, Ronald did it. I thought that too. I'm really not one for coincidences, but upon further research, I do think that this may in fact be just that. Hear me out. First of all, a lot of people were under the impression that these attacks happened on the same night, but that's just not the case. Patricia was killed Friday night or early Saturday morning. Cora was attacked Saturday night and found Sunday morning. Ronald was arrested around midnight on Saturday, which would be cutting time really close if he killed Cora, but still possible. I'm not ruling it out. But investigators also believe that Cora was attacked while she was getting out of her car, and at some point she was put into another vehicle, which is how she ended up 4 blocks away from her house. Ronald was described as a transient man, and I don't think, but I'm also not 100% sure if he had access to a vehicle. Both women were killed in different manners. Patricia was stabbed to death and Cora was bludgeoned to death. But obviously there are compelling similarities between these two women's deaths, such as they were both living at the same apartment complex, they were only 2 years apart in age, and they were both killed in a very close time frame of one another. And it's really hard to deny those facts, I know. But one thing about this case that sticks out to me the most, and what I think about the most, is where Cora's body was found. She was found in the bushes of the church parking lot that she went to. I think that speaks volumes. She was left there late Saturday or early Sunday, and I'm assuming the person who left her there did so knowing that people were going to be there in the morning for Sunday church and that they would probably find her. Something about Cora's murder just seems very personal to me. And I mean, I'm no criminal psychologist and I'm not claiming to be, but it was said multiple times that Cora was known for her beauty, and this poor woman was literally bludgeoned to death with a steel pipe. I just feel like it was somebody that she knew, and maybe somebody that she turned down. When I think of Cora and everything that I've read about her, I get the vibe that she had this way of drawing people to her. She was beautiful, sweet, and just kind of seemed like she had this magnetic energy about her. And obviously, people are going to be attracted to that. And maybe somebody mistook her sweet personality for flirting and acted on it and was upset when she didn't reciprocate those feelings. I'm not saying that that's what happened. It's just a thought that I have. Also, she did work part-time at the mall. This was the 70s. She could have easily had a stalker. I don't know. I just can't shake off the location where her body was left. Either somebody purposely left her there, or she asked her attacker to take her there so she could die in a place that was familiar to her, and they actually felt bad enough and listened, which is honestly really so heartbreaking to even think about. But I just can't stop thinking of scenarios of how she ended up at the church, a place that was very important to her. I don't think that this was a crime of opportunity. I don't think this person just saw Cora and acted on it. I think that they knew her, and I think that this was a planned attack. And of course, the grief doesn't stop there. Cora's father, Jose, wasn't able to attend her funeral because the Philippines was under martial law at the time, and he was basically held as collateral to ensure that his wife and daughters would return back from America. How messed up is that? He wasn't even able to attend his own daughter's funeral, and I couldn't imagine how hard it was for him to not even be able to say goodbye. If there is anything positive that we can take away from Cora's death, it's that she and Gary were finally reunited, which is something that she often talked about. Otis Toole and Henry Lee Lucas were also considered to be suspects in Cora's murder. And if you don't know who Otis Toole and Henry Lee Lucas are, they are two deeply disturbed murderers that met in a soup kitchen in Jacksonville, Florida in 1976. The two became romantically involved and went on to commit other murders together. They claim to have killed hundreds, but nobody's quite sure of the actual number. They're believed to be responsible for the death of John Walsh's son, Adam Walsh. And most of you might know John Walsh from hosting the TV show America's Most Wanted. Utah police went to Louisiana in 1983 to question Henry Lee Lucas about Cora's murder. It was said that he made comments about killing a Filipino woman in the late 70s, which seems like pretty damning evidence. But Henry became widely known as a compliant interviewee who was used by police to clear up murders that he hadn't been involved in, and his stories were usually corroborated by Otis Toole. They were even given the nicknames the Confession Killers, and if you guys are interested in a video on those two, let me know. They were definitely interesting, to say the least. But if you ask me, I don't think that they were responsible for Cora's murder. There isn't really anything linking the two of them to Utah, and Cora wasn't their typical victim. They usually went after males. Is it possible? Absolutely. When it comes to this case, I think just about anything's possible, which is super frustrating. But somebody viciously attacked and murdered Cora, and nobody's ever been brought to justice for it. Cora matters, and what happened to her matters. She doesn't have any immediate family here, and Gary's parents both died in 2013, So there hasn't really been anybody to advocate for Cora, and trust me, I get that this happened a long time ago, and it can make you think that if this case was solvable, it would have been by now. But there have literally been cases solved after decades, and I truly believe that even after all of these years, there's someone out there that knows something about Cora's murder. People with any information are encouraged to call Detective Ben Pender with the Unified Police Department at 385-468-9816. Thank you all for taking the time to listen to Cora's story. I really do appreciate it. Also, let me know what you guys think. Do you think Ronald, Henry, and Otis, or somebody else murdered Cora? I'm always interested to hear other people's opinions and hear different perspectives. So, yeah. I will see you all next time with another Utah case. Bye.